In the late 90s, a network called Nippon Television was producing a show titled Sususu Denpa Shonen, which consisted of one guy being isolated in a room with a clear goal how to actually get out. Now, left behind with basically nothing, not even clothes, he was forced to scramble his way up by winning sweepstakes in magazines. And that included winning the actual food. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, all that was streamed live for millions of people to witness. So hungry, naked, frustrated and depressed, all for the sake of some sick entertainment. Today we're gonna talk about how one television literally tortured a guy for 15 months straight. I know Japan has some really sadistic and insane shit, but this, man, this is like a whole new level. So without revealing too much, let me just cut into the chase. This is the case of Tomoaki Homatsu, or simply known as Nasubi. Let's get into it. In January 1998, an upcoming comedian by the name of Tomoaki Homatsu was chosen as a winner in some kind of contest called The Life of Prizes. From approximately 20 contestants, he was the lucky one. But how lucky actually he was, you can judge by the end of this video. Now, after that little celebration when he was picked a winner, he was escorted to a small room which was on a very secret location, and he was provided with only basic stuff such as water and a pile of envelopes on a small table. Right? So he was also provided with a toilet and like a little shower cabin, and with a whole bunch of magazines on the left side. And on top of that, he had to strip all of his clothes and be naked. So be completely nude. Pretty messed up things, man. So what was the actual goal? Now, in those magazines, there were like these sweepstakes, and that guy was supposed to pull the sweepstakes and, you know, create a bunch of applications and mail them in some kind of contest. And the total value of all items won should like accumulate to the sum of 1 million yen, which is something like 9,000 US dollars, which if we actually think about, isn't much considering the prices that there are today in our time. But we should remember that this was in the late 90s, so it actually wasn't so bad, I guess. But one more thing that I personally think that it was more meaningful to Nasubi was actually the fame itself. So it was, he knew that that show is like a reality TV show and it would be broadcasted on national television. So, like I said, he was struggling upcoming comedian, and he thought that this was his chance to, you know, get his breakthrough. So, crack the ice. But did he succeed? You can judge by yourselves. Now, the rule is after he reaches 1 million yen, then he is free to exit the room and go back into the society and lives a normal life. So I guess it is time for applying some sweepstakes. And boy, did he apply them. Over the first month, he applied to almost 6,000 sweepstakes. So imagine how much that actually is. Once again, remember, he doesn't have anything, he doesn't have any food, all he has is like water and a bunch of envelopes and magazines, and that's it. So he will eat only if he wins something. Now the first thing he wanted to, you know, get is like an apron so he could cover himself. But after several days, nothing arrived, and I remind you, he still didn't eat any food whatsoever. After 5 or 6 days, he won his first prize, and it was actually a pot of fiber jelly. So I don't know what it is, but I'm sure you guys do. and he immediately like saw that, and I gotta eat this, man. So I can only imagine after a few days of not eating anything. I think for me, man, a bunch of crap would be like, I would be mouth watering on a pile of crap. So his second prize was 5 kilos of white rice, and obviously you can see how happy he was here, and I mean, who wouldn't be happy? But there was a little problem. He quickly realized that he doesn't own a pan. So he owns a stove but doesn't have any dishes to actually cook the rice. So yeah, big problem. Now he tried eating the rice raw, but obviously that didn't work. So he came up with an idea that to put the rice into the empty jelly container and put it close to the stove. So put a little water in there, and the heat from the stove would, I mean, in some kind of logic, cook the rice. And it actually proved out to be a full hit. Finally, he was able to eat something, but considering the fact that that rice was his only food, that didn't, lasted long. Through February, he won several meaningful prizes, and the thing is that he can win some prizes, but the problem is if that prizes are like too cheap in overall price, he would be still far away from reaching his goal. So basically he won something, but it was only to like boost his morale, because on the other side it means nothing and he doesn't have any use from it. But in general, yeah, all he did was just sitting there in his little desk, in his little table, and filed applications in a hope that he will hit some like major score. So you can just imagine how depressed he was and alone in that moment, because you just sit there all day doing the same thing all over and all over again. However, even him doing that all day long, it took him nearly 6 months and almost 40,000. So let me repeat that again in case you didn't heard. 40,000 entries just to be on 50% of his overall goal. That is sick, man. That is like torturing in the next level. Now, during this time, he won some, let's just call them honorable prizes. So he won a bicycle, but he soon realized that there was actually no practical use for that bike, because he was in such a small place that like there was no point. So he just used it once and then he put it aside and on to the next item. He also won a pair of underwear, but it turns out that they were like either women's underwear or they were like too small, and I don't know, man, he was just doomed to walk around with his little body dangling around. And get this, he won a TV, but that TV was without antenna, so only thing like he was able to watch was like static image. So imagine like the happiness in his eyes when he like received a TV and then it was like static. So like the horror movies when somebody walks into the house and the other person just stares there at the TV and there's like static on the screen. So just like shh. So that was that exact feeling. Now, while the poor guy was struggling to win some food to actually eat something and survive, the show was getting like really popular, and producers quickly realized on how much they can actually cash in on this whole project. So they had like regular 10 minutes like extracted the best highlights and put them on the Sunday, every Sunday, like in one episode. So they quickly realized, hey, let's just put a live stream so people can like watch 24/7 how the guy is doing. So what he's doing, how he's filling his papers, how he's suffering, and I don't know what the hell else. However, the problem for them occurred when I think it was a local news media. They actually discovered where the secret room is located, and they were forced to wake him up in the middle of the night to pull him out and transfer him to another location. It was pretty much the same room with the same goal. So he was at 50% at that time, and he just have to, like pick up where he left off, and that's it. Now, since they were offering the option of live streaming, that would mean that they had to do something with his, body. So they used joysticks to, follow him around and censor his genitalia. And for the censoring, they decided to use eggplant. And the name Nasubi actually means eggplant in English. So that's where he actually got his nickname. He kept going in upcoming months and won more, like we said already, meaningful prizes. So one of them was, I think, the tickets to see Spice Girls. So I cannot assume what he could do with that kind of prize, but it wasn't necessary for him at that particular moment. He was still very, very hungry. And on top of that, just to torture a guy a little bit more, he also won a VH set for his broken TV. So again, let's view static, but with HV. After that, it seemed like his whole streak was gone. So he wasn't able to win any single item for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So he still had a little bit of food left, and at that particular time he actually ate dog food as well, because he wasn't able to win the real food every single time. So he just scrapped whatever he was able to put his hands on, and that's really messed up, man. So I cannot understand this kind of logic, but producers actually thought that he wasn't lucky because he was, I don't know, spending too much time in that same room. So they decided to once again wake him up and transfer him to another room, which was consisting of same things. And they actually thought, yeah, he was in a new room, he's now in a new room, and he's now able to finally get some fresh start, and maybe his luck would finally turn on for the better. So God forbid they actually gave something to the guy to eat, to sleep on, to drink, because I remind you, if he wanted to wash himself, he had to win soap. So no matter what you wanted to do, you had to win that particular item. And if that item wasn't available in the magazines, you just cannot win it. And that's why I put a lot of stress on the word meaningful, because he was winning some stuff that really didn't have any practical use in his life at that time. So, not good, man. However, by some, I don't know if it was like a pure coincidence or something, but by transferring him in the new room, he actually, picked up the pace, and his luck actually started rolling again. So he was able to win a PlayStation. So imagine actually winning that kind of prize. You're completely alone there, you don't talk to anybody, you're isolated, all you hear is complete quiet, so you don't hear anything, and you're now able to actually play some video games, hear some sounds, hear different voices which are not yours, so you don't talk with yourself. And he played PlayStation for 4 days straight. So I guess that is what you call a marathon. But he soon realized that if he continues playing the PlayStation, he just cannot do his main objective. So he quickly banned himself from playing video games, and got back on his little table and continued doing the application filling and sending the contest application to winning the prizes and going back in his overall score, so he could finally get out of that room and be free. After winning some good prizes, he was very, very close, and after 335 days he finally did it. Or did he? Now, at this particular time, the show was on the peak, and about 17 million people were watching. So, one more time, 17 million people. I mean, you understand how big that number actually is. 17 million people are regularly watching a naked guy trying to fill out some sweepstakes applications to win some prizes and get the hell out of one small room with no food, with no decent conditions to actually live. So he reached his goal, 1 million yen, he won it, but 17 million people were still watching. So what did producers think at that particular moment? They thought this: no way, man, we're gonna end this show because it just brings too much money. Let's just come up with something else to keep him locked. And so they did. But they did it in like the most brutal way imaginable. I mean, they didn't do anything physically to him, but psychologically, I mean, I would completely snap. Once again, they wake up in the middle of the night. But this time they had like confetti with them and pour the confetti all over the guy, say, yo man, you won, it's all good, you did it, so good for you. So we're gonna do a little celebration party for you. So we have these tickets to Korea, and there's like some kind of carnival there. We're gonna take you there, we're gonna have a nice time, and you will celebrate your victory as a winner. So they take the guy, flew him to Korea on the carnival. He has like the best day of his life, he's so happy. He finally says to himself, I did it, I'm free, and I'm gonna be famous. But you know, the sick, twisted thing is that they weren't planning to let him go. Instead, they blindfolded him again, and while still in Korea, they took him to another room with the same task. You have to win something in order to get the hell out of this room and this country. So the new objective was do the same thing with magazines and sweepstakes, but this time earn enough to buy yourself a plane ticket, so economic class to with one direction to Japan. And of course, since he was in Korea, he actually didn't know the language, so they provided him only with some kind of dictionary. So here buddy, here's your book, you can translate it all by yourself, and once you're done, once you collect enough points, enough value from your items to purchase a plane ticket, you can, you know, be free.
そこは?
So let's just stop and briefly comment this. Imagine how sick, twisted and disturbing this whole thing is. You're struggling like for more than 300 days to accomplish something that is, let's face it, very, very, very difficult. And I don't think like if anybody managed to pull that off, but this guy actually did it. So he won 1 million yen from the items, sending some kind of sweepstakes from the magazines, right? So he did it. They tricked the guy thinking he won. They gave him the best like day of his life, celebrating his victory, and then they took him to a different country and put him in the same room and basically said, you gotta start all over again. I don't know, man. This sounds like too much to be true, but it actually is. It happened, and 17 million people watched this live. So I don't know, man. Like there's a sadism and there's a Japan sadism. So I always said this a couple of times on other channel, like there's true crime and there's Japan's true crime. So there's something so sinister about their true crime cases that just gives me, I don't know, man, gives me the chills. But yeah, at that particular time, I cannot comprehend how the guy felt. I mean, I cannot even imagine what went through his head. I would be just like, I'm done, man, I'm done. But not Nasubi. He decided, I'm gonna get this one as well. Now, if you think you heard all you need to hear about this case, just wait. After 2 months, he was actually able to pull this off. So he earned enough points to buy himself an economy class ticket, a one-way direction to Japan. But that just wasn't good enough. So producers decide, hey, we're gonna upgrade his initial goal, and now he needs to collect enough points to buy a business class ticket. But wait, after he did collect enough points to buy his business class, then he needed to upgrade to first class. So it's like a torturing with no ending, so never ending kind of tunnel. There's no light at the end of this tunnel. You complete something, something else comes. You complete that as well, something else comes. So it looked like a never ending kind of, I don't know, what's the appropriate word, limbo. So a kind of never ending limbo for this guy. However, the people who were in charge of this whole project slash sadists were finally able to put the rest to it and said, yeah, he won, but this time he won for real. And of course, as the final touch, they simply had to do something disgusting. Again, they blindfolded him and put him in the exact same room for the final time. But what he didn't know is that the walls of that room were collapsible, and that he was actually in some kind of studio with the live audience all over the place. So when he got into the little cube, he immediately, started undressing because he just assumed this is not the end. So there's like a whole new chapter to this kind of shit. But yeah, they began the countdown, and when the countdown was done, the walls collapsed and he was just in pure state of shock. So I don't know how many people were like witnessing that, how many people were there watching, but I'm gonna try to pull the footage. If I don't manage to find it, I will just describe it. So he had like completely blank look in his face. So the people were just sitting there and clapping like, woo, yeah buddy, you're the winner. He's in a complete state of what the hell am I doing here? What's happening? So it seems like he forgot to communicate. So he didn't, see a living human being for how long? I mean, if we don't count the trip to the, carnival. But you get a point. Imagine being alone so long and isolated, and all of a sudden you're naked sitting there in front of hundreds of people. So that was like the ultimate humiliation for the end. So what is the aftermath of this whole, I don't know how should I call it. I mean, it's not a case. It's, I don't know what, man. It's something I like didn't hear in my life. But the aftermath, what was it? He was there for 15 months in total, and in that time he barely spoken to other human being. He sent, I think, over 75,000 like contest applicants. 75,000. Jesus Christ. Now, what was one more, let's call it, very cruel thing about this show? So this show was like intended to be in a comedian manner, right? And they, like, it was streaming live, right? And in highlights on Sundays, they just decided, let's put like the really funny sound effects and laughter whenever this guy was complaining or something, or was very depressed. So the audience thinks that he just has a good time there, and he's very competitive, and he's very lucky to be in that kind of position. So I will now play one for you, right? So let's go. So yeah, guys, I'm completely broken. My wife left me, my kids left me. I lost all my money, I lost my house, I lost my mortgage, and I'm thinking about killing myself. They put the laughter there, man. It's like, hey, yo, it's so funny, man. What the fuck? But yeah, man, that's like the psychology behind it. So let's put the funny laughter in whenever the guy was like super depressed, and like the people will think it's okay. And it actually worked because 70 million people were like regular streamers, so they watched. So that reminds me how many sick people are out there. And this was like some kind of freaky dark web show that was legal. So I don't know what else should I think, really. And after that, this show had like 3 more variants of it, right? So they were called like endurance experiment tests, like shows, right? Because this was like the ultimate endurance experiment show. And those variations were: the guy had to hitchhike across the whole Africa. That was one. The second was the guy or the girl, I don't know, or more contestants. I really can't recall. But they had to build some kind of raft in the middle of nowhere and find their way back to Japan. So that was the second one. And the third one is that one person was forced to, sit in complete darkness in one room, and only when their like favorite baseball team wins, they get food or light. I don't remember, but what's up with Japan, man? And of course, when people realized this is like getting way out of hand, they were forced to cancel the whole thing in 2002. And that only remains with one question: what happened with Nasubi? After I saw some comments and read some articles, he apparently wrote a book which became a bestseller at that point. And he also found like a small success in acting movies, but it was like really small parts, nothing too special. And the most recent information said that he actually managed to climb the Mount Everest, and he acts like some kind of motivation. I mean, I did the whole video perfectly, and now I'm messing things up. One more time. He climbed the Mount Everest. So that's quite of an achievement right there, man. But, I mean, the ultimate question is, did this show, like, do him any good? So, did he reach his desired fame, or what happened? How the whole experience, actually impacted his psychological strength? And by some informations, he had like really, really hard time socializing with other people, because obviously he was so long in there that, I don't know, he just lost his communication skills. He also had a really huge problem with clothes. So again, he was naked for so long that he just, got used to it. Actually, wearing clothes made him like itchy and all kind of stuff. So he had a really big problem with that. And he also lost his comedic charm. So he was no longer that happy, goofy guy that most people knew. But, that experience changed him completely. So once again, the main question is, did all this was worth it?